Hi guys, I am Ree from mummyoffour.com. How are we this evening? How are we all doing? Today we're here to chat about all things ADHD. So if you are joining me live, please let me know in the chat. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, just adjusting my camera here, where you're watching from, and if you have any neurodivergence in your life, your family, whatever, just let me know so we can all kind of get to know each other a little bit more. So very briefly, and then we'll get to the chat. I am Ree from Mummy of Four, as I've mentioned. If you've not met before, if this is your first video of mine, hello. I was diagnosed with ADHD this year at age 40, and I've got to say it was a little bit of a shock when I found out that I may have symptoms. So a little bit of backstory for me. I have 4 children on the autism spectrum. So I've learnt quite a lot about neurodivergence over the last few years, namely since, let's see, when was Will diagnosed? He's 12. He was diagnosed when he was in nursery, so he was just off 5. So, was he 5 already? I don't know. He was quite little. Maybe he was 5. I'm not sure. I could have to look back at my older videos. Anyway, he was quite little. So it was quite a while ago. And since then, I've been learning. And I've got to say, I didn't know much about ADHD at all. And much as before I learned about autism, I think I had a preconceived idea of what I thought it was. And that's not what it was. That's not the whole thing. It's very much a spectrum. I think ADHD is very similar. So I used to think ADHD was, and please forgive past me who didn't know any better, very busy, very hyperactive, usually little boys, almost like can't sit still, and totally bouncing off the walls, very kind of obvious, can't concentrate on anything. That's what I thought ADHD was. That's what I thought it looked like. And it can look like that in some people, but it can be so much more. So a blogger friend of mine, Katie, from What Katie Said, we were doing lives on each other's Instagrams. And this particular Instagram live was so valuable, this chat, and it changed my life so much that I kind of screen recorded it from Instagram. I've put it on my YouTube channel. So you have to forgive the quality of it. It's not like up to the normal, I don't mean like the content, but like the filming quality and stuff, because it was like screen recorded from Instagram. So from that point of view, it's not great, but I put it on my channel and it's in a playlist. I've put the ADHD playlist in a pinned comment for anyone that wants to watch it. Anyway, so during this chat, she had recently been diagnosed with ADHD because in England they have something called, I think it's called the right to choose system, where they've got some sort of system where, and you'll have to watch that live, which is, I think it's called something like A Conversation That Changed My Life or something, in that playlist. Anyway, she's explained it much better than I did because it's not exactly the same pathway I went down anyway. And she said that she explained how she'd been diagnosed under this system in England and how ADHD in women is nothing at all like we think. And I just thought this is a fascinating topic. I'd love to chat about it. It's bound to be helpful to someone in my audience. When I invited her on to do that live, I will fully admit, I thought this is nothing to do with me, but I hope it'll benefit other people. Little did I know that every single thing she said, I went, oh, I do that. Or, oh, I did that, so I put this in place. Oh, I used to struggle with that until I put this in place. And every single thing she brought up, like every single thing. And it blew my mind a little bit. And that was back in, again, you have to check the video, I want to say 2021. It was quite a long time ago. And then I have got, in the playlist, I've documented through various vlogs my whole journey through the diagnosis process. So if you have any specific ADHD questions, do let me know in the comments. But I have got a few kind of sent in, and I'm going to go through some of the symptoms I kind of noticed myself that it turns out were ADHD that I thought were quote unquote normal. Like, we don't like to use the word normal, but you know what I mean? I thought everyone did. I thought, oh, that's just mum life. Everyone does this. And it turns out for me, they mean ADHD. So like, let's just say hi to a couple of people. Hi, Gemma. Hi, Kira. Hi, Lily Grace Life. So Lily Grace Life says, I'm doing great. On holiday. Great. Possibly have ADHD and autism, roller coaster enthusiast, GCSE student. Your hair looks great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've been sleeping with it wrapped around this bendy curler thing. Basically, I just like twist it around this like silk sausage at night, and then I wake up and it looks like this, because I'm too lazy to actually learn how to curl it properly with heat, and this is heatless, so it's less damaging, so a win-win all around. So thank you for that. So some of the things that I've noticed in myself, because like most of the questions have been like, what are the symptoms? What did you notice? And how did you get assessed and diagnosed? They're the main gist of the questions. I've had quite a lot of questions, and most of them are similar to that. Those are most of the questions, if I'm honest. So some of the things I noticed in myself, I mean, ultimately you can go back and watch that live I did with Katie, and you just watch my face. You can see the penny dropping. It's like, coincidentally, totally unrelated. I do that. Oh, coincidentally, totally unrelated. And then it was like, oh, I just agreed with everything you said. Everything you said. Oh, okay. So maybe we're looking at something here. And then I kind of didn't do anything about it for ages. Then I went to see the GP, armed with like my list of these are the reasons. And I thought he'd kind of quiz me. I thought he'd be like, well, what do what's your evidence? What's this? And I thought that would be a big conversation and a big like interrogation. And I think I had some anxiety about going into the assessment because the process of, you've all watched this, you've seen the vlogs, the process of getting my children assessed for autism felt like a fight. It felt like a battle. It felt like every meeting was like come on, it was exhausting. So I went into the GP and he's like, yeah, fill out this form and bring it back. And I said the most ADHD thing ever. I said, I'm gonna fill out the form now and give it to you immediately, or you'll never see it again. So I filled out the form, and in one of the vlogs, and in fact what I've done is I've strung together at the beginning of September, I've got a video coming out called My ADHD Journey. And there's a lot of new stuff in there that's never been seen before, about since I've been diagnosed and the journey towards medication and the to and fro and all the drama that's happened there. So that's all in that video. But ultimately, it's a long video. And apologies if you have ADHD, it's going to be hard to watch a long video. But I did put timestamps so you could go back to it. But it's a long video and it covers everything. So if you really are like, wow, what is the process like? I've covered everything in there. I've kept it super detailed. You can skip around if it's not all for you, but I've put it all in there. So I put in that video, and it's been in a previous video as well, like a photo of the form, and you can see that it's like an initial screening form, and it's like the further over to that side of the paper, like I do this like sometimes, always, never, or whatever, and all of my answers were indicating needs an assessment. So you're like, oh, okay, we better refer you. So then I had an initial was it a telephone consultation? So this is why I record it all in vlogs at the time, because I can't tell you exactly what happened next or what the date was, but it's all in those vlogs. I think I spoke to someone on the phone initially. Can't tell you exactly when the date was, but I spoke to someone on the phone, and then I had did I have a physical? I had a psychiatric evaluation. I think that was like the summer, maybe August, and that was, as I understood it, I thought that bit of it was very little to do with ADHD and more like ruling out other things. But maybe that formed more of the assessment than I thought, because the actual assessment was basically a questionnaire, and it was very simple and straightforward. And I found the ADHD assessment so different. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced both an autism and an ADHD assessment. And I would be fascinated actually if anyone knew what an ADHD assessment's like in children, because as an adult, the ADHD assessments felt very simple, I suppose. Very simple, very straightforward. So the autism assessments I've witnessed the ADOS. And I've got videos on my channel if you just go Mummy of 4 ADOS into YouTube. I wrote down loads and loads of notes when I watched Bella's ADOS through one-way glass. And I came home and kind of word vomited all to the camera because I knew I'd forget it otherwise. So that video is a more valuable resource than my brain, who has forgotten most of it, like I said. But that video, I had notes and I recorded everything and I really shared like what went on in there. But there were lots of things like they'd have like a cloth and they'd like lift something up and see if they reacted, and they'd be looking for eye contact, and it was really multifaceted, really, really detailed, really like you go score in this and you had to score in different categories and score certain amounts in order to qualify for it was complex. The ADHD was more like tick the box, sometimes always never in adulthood and in childhood. And that was it. And then she said, so I said, when do I like get the results? She's like, oh yeah, you've got ADHD. I'm like, and just for the record, this was, when was I assessed? April or May? I still haven't had a piece of paper to say, yes, you've got ADHD, or no, you haven't. Like, obviously, she said I have, but I almost feel like it's like, what if I made it up? What if it's all in my head? I need some evidence here to prove to myself that I'm not making this up. Obviously, I haven't made it up, but you know what I mean. Imposter syndrome, a massive imposter syndrome. And I think it was just weird because when the children were assessed for autism, I had these really detailed reports being like, these are the specific struggles in this area. And it was so detailed. And for ADHD, it was like, yeah, you got it. Bye. Okay, what do I do now? Anyway, that whole journey since I've been assessed is in that video. I think it's coming out Thursday, the 4th of September, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th of September. I want to say Thursday, the 5th of September, but it's already in my Patreon. If you're in my Patreon, it's already in there. Hello, Sue. Louise Reese says, hi, I was diagnosed with ADHD 2 years ago at age 47. I'm in Wales too. So Louise, how was the process for you? Out of curiosity, what made you think, I may need to get assessed here, and how long did it take you? And was it as simple as mine? And did you ever get a piece of paper saying, yes, you have ADHD, or did they just kind of go, yeah, you got it, bye-bye, like they did with me? Really curious. Lottie, hello, how are you? Okay, so a few things. Nikki's just said, I've gone via right to choose now because the long waiting list on the NHS. Am I right, Nikki, in thinking right to choose is like, you say, I want an assessment, I want to go with this particular company, and then it gets NHS funding, but you pay to go to a company with a shorter waiting list. Is that what it is? I have a lot of forms now and I need to provide examples. Really procrastinate over this one. Nikki, literally at the top of my list, I've got things I didn't know, things I do. It's like a list of things that I do that I didn't know were ADHD. Do you know what the first one is, Nikki? The first one is procrastinating big daunting tasks. Like, I'm not saying, by the way, I should have said this at the beginning because it's the internet and you've got to say these things. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical health professional. Please seek your own medical advice. Don't take advice from anyone on the internet, generic advice from anyone on the internet that isn't, because they're not your actual doctor. So it can only be generic advice. But, if this stuff resonates with you, please do speak to your own doctor. But just because you do one or two of these things doesn't mean you have ADHD. And because you do none of them, like maybe you still do, you know, maybe there are other things. But definitely if like me, you're sitting there going, oh, to every single point, probably speak to your GP. Okay, so the first one, procrastinating, big daunting task. Nikki says, yes, you choose a particular provider. So that's the system in England. It's not the same here in Wales. And it's clunky. It's really clunky and really overburdened. I was actually talking to someone, a secretary in the office where my consultant, works today. And she's saying just how shocking it is and how overburdened the system is. So many more people are noticing they've got symptoms. And it's not like, I saw a really good graph actually saying about left-handedness. And people are all like, why has everyone got ADHD all of a sudden? It's like, well, people always had it. They just didn't know or didn't like to talk about it or weren't aware. So there was a graph showing like how many left-handed people there were. And there weren't that many like self-confessed left-handed people. But children used to get beaten in schools for being left-handed. And then when they stopped doing that, then more people were naturally comfortable being left-handed, and the left-handedness that was reported was on the rise. And it's sort of like that with ADHD, but it's totally an awareness thing, because I'm going to admit now, like, well, I've already admitted it, but like I said, I'm 40. I didn't really know till I was assessed. I had this inkling since 2021, but until I didn't know I had it. And I've clearly been this way all my life. And it has been a bit of a, like, every time I do something now, I'm like doing it with different eyes, like, oh, this is why I am like I am. You know, like if you've ever watched my decluttering videos and I pull everything out and people are like, why are you doing that? It's like, I'm doing this to make myself do it, because if I don't make myself do it, I won't do it. I will procrastinate it. So things like decluttering projects, for example. So this unit behind me, I wanted to do that for about 3 months, 4 months, more longer really, but 3 or 4 months. And then eventually one day I'm like, today's the day, and I nearly backed out. So I just started tipping it all out. And then I was like, well, it's all over the floor and I've got to do it. It's like, I've made myself do it. So procrastinating tasks is a massive one. Okay, Ghost Girl says, I'm going to Comic Con, I have ADHD. I'm trying to think how I'm going to cope. Can you give me some tips? Okay, so Comic Con. So what would you say your struggle, Ghost Girl, is going to be with Comic Con? What are you concerned with? Are you concerned with the overwhelm, with the noise? If you are concerned with the overwhelm and noise, I haven't tried loop earplugs, but so many people are raving about them. If it's like the noisy environment you're concerned about. If it's more like wanting to feel like you've got enough out of the day, I would do like I do for my Disney trips, and I'd make bucket lists of things I want to do and then refer back to them, so you can come away feeling like, yeah, I had a really great day because I got round enough. But yeah, what's your specific concern? So Nikki says, I never thought about it before until my eldest was assessed for autism and I realised I share similar experiences. See, this is so the thing. It's like you don't know about anything about neurodivergence at all. And incidentally, I did speak to the person assessing me, because some people are like, do you think you have autism? And she didn't think I do. And according to a lot of, I have done some screenings and I come out as no for autism and very much yes for ADHD. And it's funny because certain strategies help for both autism and ADHD, but for different reasons. So for example, routine helps me, but more like because it helps me automate things, so takes things off my cognitive load. So routine for me is the same as like paying a bill by direct debit. You don't have to think about it, versus you have to do it every month. So if I don't have routine, it's like having to be like, oh, I have to get this bill and I have to pay it. If I've got a routine, it's like a direct debit's happening and I don't have to think about it. It's one less thing for me to think about and do. And that's why routine helps me. Routine for my children who have autism, it's more like so it helps them feel safe and secure and like their world's okay. So routine works for both of us, but for totally different reasons. But it still works for both. Nikki says, growing up, being told girls behave in a certain way, my hyperactivity became internalized. So this is another thing actually that I've got on my little list of things. So I always thought of like bouncing off the walls hyperactivity as an ADHD thing. But a friend of mine actually who was diagnosed with ADHD before me, and she went privately, I want to say in England, but it may have been abroad because she's since moved abroad. Recently moved abroad. So I'm not exactly sure where she was when she got assessed. But she talked to her doctor and she's like, but I'm not bouncing off the walls. And I think he said that she had the hyperactivity. She's like, well, that doesn't make sense because I'm not like, doing parkour on the furniture. But he said that often in women, the hyperactivity is in our brains. It's like, so we're like a swan on the outside, like still calm. And then like the paddling under the water is like, that's in our brains. I think the best way to describe my brain is, the song We Don't Talk About Bruno, where they all sing over each other. That's what my brain is like. And I just thought that's what everyone's brain was like. But apparently some people would just hear the equivalent of one person singing, or, this really blew my mind, some people can think about nothing. And I saw a reel about this, and she said to her husband, what are you thinking about? And he said, I'm thinking about nothing. And she's like, huh? But what are the monologues in your head? What are the thoughts? She's like, nothing. I'm just thinking about nothing. And she's like, that can be a thing. And I was like, that can be a thing. What? That absolutely blew my mind. But yeah, my brain, and I thought that was everyone's brains. I mean, let me know. Does your brain sound like, oh, I need to get this, and how about, did I get the shoes? Like a constant chatter of to-do lists all the time, because that's what my brain sounds like. Okay, Abby says, listening to this is so helpful at the beginning of the referral process, and I'm really struggling to work. So hearing your story and your tips and tricks give me so many ideas of how to help myself. Abby, that makes me so happy that this is helping someone, because I'm genuinely just sharing the stuff that I wish someone had shared with me. That's what the whole purpose of my channel has been that. And I've got to say, I started my channel thinking, wow, you've got to have so many hacks to hold it together as a mum. And especially, I thought that my life and my brain was like this because baby brain, because mum brain, because mum life. And I was like, wow, I've got to like do all these hacks and routines and things to hold my life together and make it easier. And all mums must struggle like this. And mum life is hard. And just because you don't have ADHD doesn't mean you're not going to find it hard, because being overwhelmed can almost mimic the symptoms of ADHD by all accounts. But I started my channel with the purpose of, making parenting easier, sharing all the tips and tricks that I had to find out the hard way so you don't have to. That was the premise, the tagline, whatever. That was kind of my mission statement. And it turns out maybe this whole time I've just been trying to hack ADHD. And then when I started my channel, did I even know Will had... Yeah, I think I knew Will had autism when I started my channel, didn't I? I'm trying to think timelines. Yeah, I think I knew that, but I didn't really discuss that much. It was more like I was talking about nappies and packing bags to go out and how to put straps on Nike high chairs your kid couldn't climb out and stuff like that. So yeah, if it's really helping anyone, that genuinely makes me happy. Abby, is it Abby? Yeah. Please do check out that playlist, because there's loads of videos in there and podcast episodes as well. I've also got a podcast YouTube channel, but I've put all of the things to do with ADHD in that one playlist, so they're kind of bingeable. And that video coming out on the 5th of September, already live in my Patreon, which I'm hoping I've linked below, but I'm not quite sure. You should be able to find a link to my Patreon somewhere on my channel, but it's mummyof4.com/Patreon if you want to watch it early. But yeah, if not, just watch it on the 5th of September when it comes out. That video just shares all the things. It shares everything from when I thought, oh, something might be going on here, right up to very recently when some really interesting things happened after being diagnosed, and going back and forth and having a bit of drama and all that stuff, my heart and all that business. All that's in there. Ghost Girl says, right, I'm also autistic, so that adds a lot at the same time, because yeah, that's referred to as ADHD, is it? There's like where autism and ADHD are joined, and with both my symptoms, when I get excited, I bounce around a lot. I'm worried about too much excitement. I've got to say, I think at Comic-Con, I don't think anyone's going to mind you being too excited. I think everyone's there because they're excited about that. It's like worrying about going to Disney and appearing too excited, or being judged for crying on Main Street. Like, I know other people are crying because as well, all happy tears. So I wouldn't stress about that. I think, people would just be so busy being excited themselves. I honestly wouldn't worry about that. But I would make a list of things you really want to get done and think, right, I'm going to prioritize these. Take breaks so you don't get overwhelmed, just the same as I do in the parks. What are the signs of autism? Right, Owen Taylor, I have actually got a printable PDF. I'm going to put it in here actually. So it's mummy. If you go to mummyof4.com/100ASD, is that right? Yeah. If you follow that link, Owen, there is a document that I will send you via email. And it's 100 signs of autism to look out for. So it's not it's not a diagnostic document or anything, but hopefully that will be helpful for people who are going through the process. The reason I put that together is because it used to drive me mad, where I'd go to these assessment meetings and you get asked by so many different people, do they do this and do they do that? And you're like, I don't know, you just feel really put on the spot. And it's like, well, I don't know now. You've got me all flustered. And if I'd known to look out for that, I would have looked out and I would have been like, yes, they've done that 3 times this week. Or nope, haven't seen that at all. So this is 100 things to look out for. And that way you can just feel educated and empowered and know roughly the sort of things to bring up. Or you could go to the meeting and be like, look, they do none of these things. And either way, that's cool. Right. Okay. Lily Grace. I'm sorry, what? You can think about nothing. This was my reaction. You can think about nothing? Like, this is why I've been like, meditating. I don't understand. Clear your mind. I was like, huh? I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand how to do that. Like, what? I don't get it. Gemma cannot think about nothing. Because, yeah, it'd be like nothing. Okay, nothing. So what is nothing? I'm thinking about nothing? No, I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm thinking about something. Exactly. I can't do it. Impossible. Lily Grace. Mine is usual multiple monologues or sometimes one very catchy monologue. Mine's normally song lyrics, if I'm honest. I've normally, one of my odd little things. I don't know if this one's ADHD or not. I can't tell you, but let me know if maybe it is. It's like having a photographic memory, but for nothing useful, just for song lyrics, including not just the lyrics, but the whole melody and everything, which is maybe useful for pub quizzes, but nothing else. It's like so much grey space in my brain must be taken up by song lyrics. It's untrue. Okay, so some other things that may be related to ADHD, possibly. One thing I have noticed, and one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of a kick up the bum to go and get assessed, was so many people that I follow in the online space because they do what I do. So people talking about growing on YouTube and productivity for entrepreneurs and general entrepreneurship and growth mindset and all that sort of stuff have ADHD. And I'm like, oh, and I watch you because I resonate with you, and and it's like that was quite a big one for me. And you know, so very creative people often have ADHD, and just Google list of people that have ADHD. It's like famous people and celebrities, like so many of them. Struggling to shut my brain off, especially trying to fall asleep. I tried years ago using like sleep meditations to fall asleep, years and years ago, and it was in fact when the babies were little, because I used to get so frustrated. You know, when you've got a tiny baby and you're like, whoa, okay, right, they've gone to sleep, I've got to go to sleep as quickly as I can because like I may only have an hour and then I wake up again. I cannot waste 35 minutes of that lying there being like, why can't I go to sleep? So I got into the habit of having like one AirPod at a time, just one, because then when one went flat, I'd switch it. And also I could listen up with the baby with the other one. And also like lie on this ear and have it in this ear. And I would listen to a sleep meditation and then I'm like out like a light. And I still do that every single night to fall asleep. So that really helps. So if you've got ADHD, please try that. Just you can listen to a sleep meditation on YouTube. There's some on Apple Music. I'm sure there's some on Spotify, that kind of thing. Things you can download to listen to, white noise, but ones that are specific for like helping you fall asleep, meditations. And you can also get some that are or like a sleep hypnosis, and then you can also get them to like rewire your brain. It's like a sleep hypnosis that also helps with productivity or whatever you kind of need. But yeah, that's been such a game changer. But it didn't occur to me that maybe I can't shut my brain off because of the ADHD, and that is actually an ADHD hack. Yeah, so that. Another one is like paralysis before starting things. And this is one of the things I've noticed since being diagnosed, especially if it's like big projects like organising all that stuff or packing. So today I've just finished editing the pack with me for our Disney cruise that we're going on next week. So if you're into Disney or packing, that's coming your way pretty soon. But the paralysis by analysis before starting that kind of stuff is untrue. Honestly, I'll be just like not knowing where to begin. In fact, there's a bit in that video where you just see me kind of like, I've checked everything out and I'm just like, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just like a glitching robot. I'm like, and yeah, that happens a lot. So it's like when I get going, I'm okay, but getting over that hump to kind of get rolling, to get moving is such a struggle sometimes, which is why I really try, like, eat the frog, you know, bam, get stuff going in the mornings. Because, like, once I'm like, oof, getting going, I'm okay. But yeah, sometimes starting, hard going. Nikki says, my husband asked me to share what I was thinking when I was driving, because it's the first time motor driving I did. I hate packing holidays for your planners. Okay, so hang on. Oh, right. So, sorry. I thought the next one was what you were sharing. My husband asked me to share what I was thinking when I was driving, because it was the first time driving the motorway, so I did. All right, there we go. Yeah, so there probably were things you were thinking. Probably like... Anyway, so Nikki also says, hate packing for holidays, but your planners and pack with me videos are so helpful, as I find it overwhelming. Well, I find it really overwhelming. I know I have a lot of pack with me videos, a lot. But even before I used to film them as videos, because obviously that does add a little bit of an element to it, because I've got to film it and make sure I've filmed it all and stuff, and make sure I've said enough that it's helpful, I suppose. I always found it so overwhelming, which is why I then put together packing checklists, and I still find it like bonkers overwhelming. So I've got my Disney cruise one. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I've told you this. Have I told you guys about this? So I've got my cruise planners. We've already got Disney ones. I've got holiday ones now for just actual holidays. I have got a kids version of this as well, but not right here in my office. They are available on my website. So yeah, this is all the stuff, same stuff that's in the Disney one, but it's in like for a non-Disney trip. So it's countdowns. Oh gosh, I've put pick a park in there. Okay, this minute just like edit. Yeah, so it's like still in beta testing, as we call it. There's probably one or two tweaks I want to make to it, but this has been added to the website. There's all things like the packing checklist. Let's show you it's got pre-trip shopping list, pre-trip to-do list, pre-departure checklist, and then I've also got all the... Oh, hang on. There's another page I want to add to this. There's another page. See, these things always get tweaked and added too. If you get the digital versions, by the way, you always get every update as well. Oh, no, I haven't. I thought I hadn't added it. I thought it was going mad. It's in here. So you get a packing checklist. So what you do is you put the people's initials along the top. So you put like Ree, Bella, blah, 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 and then you tick off everything for them here. Like, skirts, tops, da, 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 da. And then you've also got a complete packing checklist. So that's like clothes per person. Then it's like over the side, it's like, have I packed all the clothing? Done. Yes. Or everyone's underwear, everyone's socks, everyone's nightwear. And you just go through everything. You've got spaces to add extra things. So I put these together as much for me as for you, because I'm genuinely overwhelmed. And then as I've done it, I'll look at all the cases and be like, what if I've not done it all? And then I can look at my checklist and be like, it's okay. Anyway, mummyof4.com/planner or planners, possibly both. Or they are linked on my YouTube channel on my website. So yeah. If that helps you, but I'm so genuinely thrilled, Nikki, that the planners help. Louise says, no, still nothing on paper. My assessment took over just over a year in Bridgend. Isn't it mad? Like, you walk away going... It reminded me a little bit, actually, of like going to the doctor and being like, you've peed on a stick. I don't know if it's ever happened to you. And you're like, okay, so you don't feel pregnant or anything, and it's just like some urine in your own bathroom and a line. And you're like, you go to the doctors and you're like, I think I'm pregnant. They're like, well, did you do a test? And you're like, well, yeah, but like, can you just check that I'm not mad or something? I'm like, I'm not making it up. And they're like, no, if you've done a test, then that's fine. We'll see you in many weeks. And you're like, do you need to do medical? To like, what if I made it up? Like, I don't know if that's just me. That's if anyone else have had that experience. But yes. Ghost Girl says, okay, thank you. Hopefully those tips help. Nikki says, what do you do to manage emotional dysregulation? Trying to support my neurodivergent girls and my own executive functions. I find it difficult. Yeah. Okay. I guess having routine helps me. How do I manage my own emotional dysregulation? I don't have time for emotional dysregulation, so I don't. I am trying really hard to factor enough self-care into my routine so that I don't get super overwhelmed. And ultimately, all the things I do, all the mum hacks, help to stop me from getting so overwhelmed. I would say that the children struggle with emotional dysregulation much more than I do. But ultimately, there are certain times where I have just been like really, really zoned out. And when I've gone through kind of things that are quite, I don't know, like for example, I guess after the children were assessed and I felt like it'd been like fight after fight after fight after fight. I just had that last meeting with the consultant, I guess, and I'd been told the results. That's one of the times in my life I've just been so zoned out. I guess just like I couldn't speak to anyone. So I just had like one text that was like copy and paste to people that I had to contact, just saying I really can't talk now. This is what's happened. And it wasn't because like I was like, autism isn't, it's not a bad thing. It's just part of how the children are wired. You know, they're absolutely wonderful. And I think the only thing that at the time was like hard to come to terms with, it's like you never want your children to struggle with anything. And when you told your children who've got autism, you know that they're going to struggle with this, and this. The reality of it is all children are going to struggle with something. It's just most children, you don't know what they're going to struggle with. So ultimately, when you get told that they have autism, you just know what those particular struggles are going to be. And actually, that's easy to prepare for. But when you initially get told, you don't necessarily process it like that. But I did feel quite dysregulated then in those times. And those things have been quite challenging. But ultimately, I work a lot of things into my routine to make sure that I can be as productive as possible, I think. For example, I know if I don't drink absolutely bucket loads, I get such bad brain fog and I can't even function. That's self-care, right? I've been told I don't do enough self-care by some people in my life, but I do some self-care. Like I exercise because I think these things are almost like if you don't keep your car serviced, and then it'll break down and then you won't have a car. And I'm the car. And I need to be able to drive everyone around, I guess. So there are certain things I have to do to make sure that happens. So if I do all those things, then that certainly helps me. Okay, Lily Grace Life says, I'm awful about organisation, which my teachers find hilarious. I have like 50,000 folders at the start of the year. It's kind of the point. I have 50 folders I don't use. That was me in school. I loved the idea of a system and then never followed through on anything. So again, so this is another like indicator perhaps of ADHD in younger me, which I didn't know was ADHD at the time. I didn't struggle academically. So this is, I guess, spiky development. So I was capable of doing well. However, my classic would be like, you've got geography homework. And I would not think about that one teensy weensy little bit until my bum was back in the seat in geography a week later going, we had homework, didn't we? And I didn't have the sheet and it was all scrumped in my bag and I lost it and I didn't know what that was. And it wasn't until I was back in that environment that my brain would like click back into going, I remember that thing that I was supposed to do and now I'm back here, I can remember it. Or not replying to things. You see the person, you're like, oh my goodness, I haven't thought about it one single time until I'm seeing you again. And that I think is an object permanence thing. It's like, it's not until you're back in that environment where you see that thing again that you even like, I even remember geography existed, I suppose, and that's why I didn't do geography homework. I did, I hope my children aren't watching this, don't do this kids, it's not a good idea. I remember my English teacher for my GCSEs, so you do in the UK, you do English language and English literature, so it's actually 2 GCSEs, and you do them over year 10, 11, and you do coursework over the course of the 2 years, and then that's submitted along with your final exams. So she said to me, all of the English coursework for the 2 years is due to be submitted to, I don't know, the examination board or whatever, at the end of this week. And Rhiannon, I haven't had any from you for 2 years. Now, you might want to ask why I wasn't nagged about this sooner. Might be a fair question to ask. But ultimately, I did 2 years of English coursework in less than a week. which apparently is a really ADHD thing, because working to deadlines is a really ADHD thing. Now I have to create fake deadlines that are earlier, because actually running things last minute makes me feel a bit sick, because and this is part of the reason I pack early and stuff, because mum life, I guess, because mum life gets in the way. And I know that in my life any bomb could drop in a metaphoric sense. Like, if you're like, I'll do this the night before, but then one of the children are ill, has a meltdown, husband's not around, I'm not going to take them somewhere, any of these, when you've got lots of children, there are more things that can happen, aren't there? There are more eventualities, and when you've got children on the spectrum, there are even more. So if you leave the things till the last minute, you might end up having to literally skip a night's sleep to get something done. So now I still work better under a deadline, but I give myself fake deadlines that are much, much earlier. And I have to create this fake urgency and like make it a game with myself. Like, I have to get this done by the end of the day. And even though actually it doesn't need to happen for like another week. So for example, like my tax returns always used to be, I was so late with them. And I was so last minute, I was so disorganised, and it stressed me out so much, it made me feel physically sick. Now, I'm like, give myself a deadline, but it's like on the 6th of April for, that tax year. I'm like, gotta get it done by then. I'm like, that's the deadline. And then it feels so good when it's done, and it's so early. But this is very far down the line. With trying to put things in place. And like I said, I've been working on hacking this for a long time. I just didn't know it was ADHD I was hacking. Lindsay says, hi Lindsay. I also find it difficult to start cleaning. Yeah, see, the only time I find it easy to start cleaning is when I'm using cleaning to procrastinate doing something else. Procrastinating, I'm good at that. Nikki says, yes, I think in song lyrics. I know, I thought everyone did. Apparently not. Owen, I think... thank you. I'm going to go on your website and look. A big fan of your family. Oh, thank you, Owen. That's lovely. Gemma says, I can't watch without doing something. I always have a colouring book to do, or crochet, or bring a bag of fidget toys when we go to the cinema. Yeah. And this, unlike eating while watching something, I can't. Yeah, same. Like, just doing one thing, just watching something. So if I'm just watching something, I'm also like, oh, hang on, I just need a drink. Oh, hang on, I just need my lip oil. Oh, I think I need a tissue. Oh, what were they in? Let's check on IMDb. Oh, what were they in? Who wrote that song? Let's look at that. Oh, I quite like the and my husband's like going mad, because he would just literally sit there and look at this. And I'm like, what's that? Oh, hang on, I just need to fetch that. Just going to go and pop the washing on. Back in a minute. That's me watching TV. Yeah, so it drives everybody else nuts. The Lily Grace Life. The song lyrics is one extremely relatable. I often be talking to my friends to mention one word of a song, and now it's in my head. For some reason, it's the chorus of Down Under. Well, there we go. Thank you for your sleep hack. Well, let me know if it works. Try it. Let me know if it works. I'd love to know. I've just put my email on the website. How long will it take to reply? Oh, and it should be almost instant. Check your junk, your spam folder. It might be hiding in there, okay? It's a bit naughty like that sometimes. Lindsay says, my son has suspected autism and ADHD is very impulsive. Is that ADHD symptom or both? Arguably could be both for different reasons. It kind of depends why and in what setting he's impulsive. So it could be an ADHD thing, or it could be an autism thing. But ultimately, there are some symptoms that are crossover. But some things that are, some things like crossover, and some things are almost opposites with autism and ADHD. I think, I think that's quite kind of widely sort of accepted. Nikki says, anxiety is like an annoying friend, because without her I wouldn't get stuff done. I need a sense of urgency. I have to create it. Yes, I know. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? And I've got to say, watching Inside Out 2, where anxiety as a character personified, it was so clever. Apparently, psych teachers have been using Inside Out 1 to teach psychology for years, and they're going to have a field day with Inside Out 2. I have used it to discuss so many things with my children. If you've not seen that movie yet, even if you don't like Disney, I need you to watch it. If you have children, you need to watch it. Or, do you know what? If you are a human and you have a brain, you need to watch it, because it helps you realise what's going on in your brain. I think it was... Who's the author? who wrote Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Big Magic, said that anxiety, I think she talked about fear. It's like you're going on a journey and don't let fear take the wheel, but like fear can come along because he's only trying to keep you safe. So in Inside Out 2, anxiety as an emotion, she's like, I just want to help. And she takes over and she's like, ah, and she actually makes it worse. So she's like, I'm just trying to keep Riley safe. Riley's a little girl. I'm just trying to keep her safe. And ultimately, anxiety is just trying to keep you safe. But sometimes it goes a bit mad and just needs to be asked to sit down. So they put anxiety in a comfy chair and they give her a drink. And it's like, look, you can help, but, calm down. We all need to help here. We all need to do our jobs. And it's like, anxiety is like one of the food groups that you do need, but you don't need in a large quantity, because if you don't have any fear at all, you'd do stupid things, wouldn't you? If you had no fear, you wouldn't be like, oh, a high ledge, let's step back. You've got to have some fear to keep you safe, and to remind you to cross the road. Look both ways before you cross the road. So you need to have some like low levels of it to keep you alive, but low levels, like salt. Like you don't need as much salt as you do carbohydrate. You do need some. So that's anxiety. Okay. The Lily Grace, in the question, what were they in particular, is very relatable. What were they in? Oh, right. I was talking about, with actors and things. Yeah, I see an actor and I'm like, oh. The other thing, and this is one of the things that's on my list, apparently predicting what happens in TV shows and seeing like patterns and things is like a bit of an ADHD superpower. And I'm always like, yeah, that person totally did it. And I'm always amazed if there is a twist I can't see coming. Like, mind blown amazed. And even then I see it coming before my husband, who's like, what? So yes. Okay, Lindsay says, impulsive, such as kicking walls, banging doors, repetitive sounds. He also hits loved ones. Do I ignore this? I think it's difficult to ignore things if they're causing harm to other people. And we can talk about kind hands and kind of channeling things another way. It's like, like we can be mad, but we can't be mean. So we need to be safe. We need to have kind hands. And if you want to kind of get this energy, anxiety, or whatever it is out, then we can do things in other ways, like a swing or rolling over like space hoppers, or, channeling things in other ways. So obviously hitting people is difficult. You can't totally ignore, can you? Because you might cause harm to other people. But it's like, I don't think, if it is a stimming thing, autism, or if it's like getting the energy out, ADHD thing, it's less about like stopping it and more about redirecting, is how I see it personally. Anxiety from Inside Out is such a good character, says Gemma. I mean, the way it's written, that movie, the way it's portrayed, like, please go and watch it. In fact, I did a whole podcast episode on my Real Talk with Ree podcast channel where I talked about why every parent should watch that movie and the lessons you can take from it. So please go and listen to that episode or watch it on YouTube. The Lily Grace Life, I'm so glad I got to watch Inside Out 2. The anxiety speeding around the table was very relatable. Yes. Also, The Bundle of Joy is my favourite music themes. Also, I loved Anxiety Joke. Yes, very good. They also did a really good bit in there where Riley, the little girl, did grounding. So while anxiety was spinning her out, she like looked for something she could see, something she could touch, something she could smell, something she could hear, and it helped calm her, which is something we do with children. Paralysis before starting things. So that struggling with proofreading and typos and careless mistakes. So apologies if you have one of my email newsletters, you see my Instagram posts. It's like, if I've written it recently, like within the last few days, I see what I think I've written, not what my silly little fingers managed to type. And my spelling is really not that bad. My typing, pretty poor, because I'm going quicker than I'm capable of doing, really. And then my computer autocorrects things and it says weird things, and I just see what I intended to type. Apparently that's a bit of an ADHD thing. But the irritating thing is when I go back and I watch things back or I read things back a while later, I'm like, oh, that is such an obvious, awful, embarrassing typo. I can't believe I left it there. And because it's been so long and I can't remember exactly what I wrote, I see the errors and they're glaring and it's cringy. So there's that. Predicting what happened in TV shows, we talked about that. Walking into a room and forgetting why I'm there. Okay, does anyone else do that? Like, you walk into a room and you're like, oh, why? Or forgetting what you talk about halfway through a sentence because you've been distracted by things, and then you have to like retrace. You're like, oh, hang on, I was talking about before that, and then it was like iPhone. Or when I've done so many times, it's like I've opened an Amazon package in a different room, and then I've like chucked it in a basket and I've brought it down there and I've taken it to the washing, and it's like I've moved it sort of subconsciously, and then I can't remember where I've put it. I tear the house upside down for a number of days, and then when I find it, it's like all the pieces slot in. I remember exactly what happened and how it got to this really strange place, and it's really embarrassing. So is that an ADHD thing? Probably. But yes, walking into a room and forgetting why I'm there. So short, busy times, short bursts of busyness with micro deadlines, I've realised is how I ran like my business, my YouTube channel. Because ultimately I was doing YouTube, I was doing outsourced social media marketing, I was doing consultancy when Zara was very, very, very small. So I had 4 children. Bella was 2. Zara was newborn. So if Bella was 2, William was 5. So if Will was 5, Dylan was 12. So like that's quite a lot, you know. So our eldest at the time was the age William is now. And I got a lot done back then. But I had this like nap time hustle culture thing where it was like, I've got 60 minutes. So it didn't allow me to get distracted. It allowed me to slip into these hyper focuses because it's like quick against the clock. And I didn't realise how much I almost needed that in order to be productive. But yeah, I think that is a totally ADHD thing. So creating these fake deadlines totally works. My walking desk, if you want to know all about it, it's a video on my channel, has changed my life. My little ADHD brain loves it. It's like it quiets some of them. Maybe we should go and redesign the website when I'm doing something that's boring. And it's like, it's always these ideas I get. It's not like let's go and just watch TV and do nothing. They're like, let's start a new exciting project. It's a really good idea. Let's start a new channel. It's like, but it's like, no, you should be doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And I think the biggest thing that I realised that I struggle with, that not everyone struggles with, is how hard I've got to kind of make myself do stuff. I'm good at making myself do stuff, and I make myself do the stuff I need to do. But I think some people don't have to fight so much with themselves to make themselves do things. And I think that's what I've realised that is so exhausting about ADHD. It's not like just do the thing. It's like I've got to fight to make myself do the thing. Does that make any sense? I think if perhaps you have ADHD, that might make sense to you. And if you don't, you might think, well, really, that sounds a bit odd. But yeah. So yeah, that's just a few. It's just a few things. There are so many more, but go and listen to that podcast episode over on Real Talk with Ree. But I think all the podcast episodes are also linked in the playlist I've put in the pinned comment. Okay, so I've got Lindsay saying, thank you much for your advice, Ree. Do any of your children have an EHCP? I've been told I need to submit one for September. Will's under the old system, which is not the EHCPs, it's the statements. Bella was like on the cusp of it, and they thought she needed more evidence, didn't have enough for a statement, and they killed off that system. They went into the new system, and neither of the girls have that in place yet. It's a bit of an ongoing, it's my next thing, because at the moment they are, on the face of it, doing well in school. Ultimately, they mask a lot in school, and I get it all at home. So that's a bit of an on my to-do list for September. Let's just call it that. Because there's going to be different challenges in September. Lily Grace says, I do the walking into the room thing. I also have to do with YouTube videos I wanted to watch next. I think about it during a doom scroll. Doom scroll. We all do that. The way my desk is, I can't have it be a stand-up. I don't want to have to remove it. Is there anything similar you would recommend? Yeah, you could, if you've got an overhanging breakfast bar in a kitchen, you could put a laptop on the breakfast bar and use a walking pad under that. Someone pointed that out to me after I bought my standing desk. Now, for me, as I work full-time from home, this makes sense. So I press a button here and this goes, it's brilliant. But yeah, I could have tried that out with a walking pad under the breakfast bar. The other thing you can do is you can get a desk raiser, so you put your laptop on, it's like a concertina-y zigzaggy thing that'll raise your laptop up, and you can put that on any normal kind of desk. Anyway, I'm kind of losing my voice right now, so I am gonna say thank you and good night. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to grab any printables I've got, which using a QR code, scan this QR code to grab the printables. They should all be linked down in the description too. If you want to get that 100 Signs of Autism PDF, that's mummyoffour.com/ASD100 or also 100 ASD, because I've said it wrong once and I had to, so both of them linked to the same place now. Check out my Patreon, some early release videos, but mostly if you're here for the ADHD stuff, there is that playlist and then that new video coming out on the 5th of September, which I really would like you to watch because I'm hoping it will be super, super valuable. So thanks guys, I'll speak to you soon.